everybody, and welcome to my sewing room. If you haven't been here before, my name is Rosemary, and we try and do a lot of different kinds of sewing and crafts and embroidery and a lot of different other kind of things in this channel. And lately, we've been working on the PE design software. And if you were with me last week, you know that I made this little house to go with our Halloween word that goes on here like this. And this week we're going to work on candlesticks. And I know I said I was going to do it with the design center, but the more I worked on it, the more I fretted over it, the more I realized that that just wasn't going to happen, that I needed to do this as an applique as well. We may do the design center on another, maybe one of the letters. I'm thinking the letter O. But right now we're going to do the candlesticks. But before we go and do that and go to our software, I have to make a confession. Do you remember last week? Do you remember last week I said, I'm not a big Halloween person. I just kind of like the colors, the pretty purples and the blacks and the oranges, and I like the cute little witches and ghosts and stuff like that. But I don't like the gory part of Halloween. And then I went and I made this kind of boring greenhouse, and I don't even know why I did that. And you could probably tell at the end of my video I did not like this house at all. So I had to go back and I had to redo it, and I basically did the same thing, and I'll show you some of the changes I made. But this is what it looks like now. So it's purple now, and it's got orange, black with pumpkins in it, and it's brighter, and it's a little bit cheerier, and it has a little bit more curve to the top of the house. It's still really a basic little A-like shape, but it's a little bit more fun, and I'm so much happier with it. And I also did some fills on the inside, and I want to show you how I did that with the software, and I'm going to put a picture of a close-up on it so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to do the candlesticks, and you'll be able to see the whole thing. But I do want you to see a little bit of a close-up, the fills that I put in here to give it a little more texture and a little bit more fun. So with that all said, let's go to the computer. Let's do a little bit more with our PE design software. Let's create a couple more appliques, and I will be back after that to show you what I've done. So here we are in PE Design 11. And before we get to starting to make the two candlesticks that I want to make for the L's, I want to show you what I did with the haunted house. So I'm going to go to Home, and then I'm going to say Import Patterns from File. And here's the house. Well, no, wait a minute. Let's use this one. This was the one that I haven't done the fills on yet. So basically you can tell I made him longer and skinnier. I changed the door and moved the window down here instead of up here. And then, as you could see in the opening, I did change the fabric colors to try and be smarter. But what I wanted to show you was you can do a fill over the top of your applique. In order to just choose the satin stitch, though, if I click on this, it's going to, the blue dotted line means that there's several designs grouped together. And if I scan down here, it's the positioning, the tack down, and the satin stitch that are grouped together. I don't want to do a fill on all three of those because then it will make three fills, and I don't want three fills. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click off of it. I'm going to come over here to the sequence view and just hit the satin stitch. I'm going to right click and say select objects. So now it just selected the satin stitch, and that's all. It does have the blue dotted line, and it's probably because it's got other things connected to it. But the important part is that I just have the satin stitch, and I can tell because that's the only thing that's chosen here. Then I'm going to come up here to the top. Here's my satin stitch zigzag. This is not sewn. I'm going to open that, and I'm going to tell it to put a motif stitch in it. A motif stitch doesn't have a real solid fill. It has a lot of little stitches. I'm going to go over here to Home and use the zoom and come in really close so you can see. It's kind of like the decorative stitches that are in your sewing machine, and they make rows of them, and they're always open, and they wouldn't be a solid thing for you to be able to do on a wash away stabilizer because they wouldn't hold together, and they are nice lightweight that you can use for like if you wanted to put it on a t-shirt, but you didn't want a real solid fill that would put weight and make it heavy.
So it's a nice, fun way to do that. And that's kind of what, since this is an applique and we're going to have fabric down there already, I don't want a solid fill, but I do want to get some texture. So now that I've got that in there, then I'm going to go over here. Wait, I've still got my magnifying, so I'm going to come up here and get my selector key. I got the arrow again. I'm going to come all the way over here and see where it says sewing attributes. I'm going to click on that. And then now, because I have the motif stitch chosen, this appears in my sewing attributes. If I don't have the motif chosen, that won't be there and it won't be an option. So make sure you turn on the fill over here first, then come over here and click this file. And then go down and find something that looks like a tile or something that you could put in there. And I like this one right here. I thought this one was a good one. And I'm going to say, okay. And that's kind of a fun thing that looks like tiles. And if I wanted to, I could make them a little bigger. Let's just make it up, bring it up to 48 and see what happens. They're bigger that way, but they didn't get bigger this way. So we'll do maintain aspect. And we'll make that 50. And wait a second. And there is the way that is. And then if I come down here, I could change my spacing a little bit. Let's go minus, and I can actually see below it that they're getting closer together. So that's kind of even a different look. So you want to play around with your motifs a little bit and see what you end up with. Then I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to select this one over here, not there. I want to select here, right click, select objects, and tell that one that I want it to be a motif stitch. And this one, I want it to look like bricks. So I am going to look for the one that looks like bricks. I know it's in here, I just have to find it. Let's see. This one. That's kind of weird looking, but it is bricks. I'm going to say okay. See that? Isn't that cool? But it's too little. It's way too much. So I am going to come down here, maintain aspect. Let's make it bigger. That's much better. So now I've got bricks in my house and I've got shingles on my roof and I've changed it up a little bit. And like I said before, I'll put a picture in the corner so you can see a close up of it and you'll know what it looked like. And I did it with a lot more fun fabrics. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. We're going to just go over here. Let's just say new page. No, I don't want to change it. Okay, so now I have a new page and I'm going to do a candlestick. And what I want to do is I want to bring in some clip art that I can kind of play with. So I'm going to go to Image, Open from File. And you have to get used to going into the clip arts in your Google and see what you can find and hit Open. And unfortunately, a lot of times when you do this, they get all pixelated or they have words going across them. This has got words going across it. And if I get up really close to it and do this, it's really blurry and pixelated with those, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to trace it out. So let's go. So we're going to start by getting the candle itself. And I could do an automatic applique like I taught you how to do, but I don't want it to sew a satin stitch underneath this and then another satin stitch underneath that and all that kind of stuff. I just want it to do a running a satin stitch that goes down this way, around this way, up and around here like that and stop and then come up this way. So I have to draw that manually. And first thing I want to do is draw my first tack down stitch. So I'm going to go to shapes and I'm going to pick a open shape and I'm going to click it. This part doesn't matter because it's going to sew up over it. So I'm going to click here, around the top, and then this part right here, I'm going to click right down the middle, left click, left click, left click, left click, up this way, and double click. And you'll see that it didn't close because I picked the outline one. But I am going to choose this one right here so I get the edit points, and I'm going to close it. And I'm going to tell it to do a running stitch, which it did, because that's what I set it last for. I'm going to hit Control D so I have a second one. Same thing, I'm just going to put it right on top of it. Another thing you can do if you want to do one right on top of the last one is you can right click right on the line. You have to get right up against it like this. Right click and say copy, and then right click and paste. And it'll put it exactly right on top of the last one. And if I hit this plus sign, you see now I've got 3 of them. So I'm going to select the second one and push delete. Make that go away. Oop. Select objects, delete. So now I have 2 right on top of each other. And maybe what I want to do is select this one and make it, we'll just make it some weird colors that don't really even matter. Also show palette. If we come over here, you have a cut and a tack down actual brother color. You can click on that and change it to that color. And then when it's in your brother sewing machine, it'll tell you cut and tack down. So you kind of know what you're doing. You're making an applique. Okay, so now I am going to do this part right here so that I can make that a running satin stitch. So let's go, or hit plus, and let's go here. And then I'm going to hit the shapes tool, and I think this time I'm going to have it close. And then I'm going to click up. And remember I told you when you're going around a curve, click several times. There we go. It still got the big fill. Well, that's okay, because we're going to come up here and we're going to say don't sew. Oh, make sure you have it selected or it won't work. Don't sew. So now I have a running stitch. I'm going to say copy, click, paste. So now I have 2 of them. Hit the plus sign. Let's make the second one this color. And we don't want to mix those up because we want them to do it in that order. Okay, so now let's zoom out. And now we're going to add the satin stitch around it and figure out what path it's going to take. So we're going to, well, whatever color we want that candle to be, it doesn't really matter. But let's go here, and we're going to go here, and we're going to say do this in a zigzag stitch and do it in black. I might change my mind about the color later. But I'm going to click here, 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 up, around, like this. I know this isn't good, but that's okay. I'm going to double click, and then I'm going to go home and zoom all the way down till I can see what the heck I just created. Let's go into the edit tool, and then here I can kind of come in here and clean it all up, make it look more round, add a few. Remember, if you just click in the middle of your line, you add another point. Round this out just a little bit. maybe make this one come out this way a little bit. If you get really, really, really close, then you can really see what you're making here. So you can take some of the, put some more squares around there and round that sucker up a little bit more than the way I did. Now, I don't remember when I did this, but somehow I got some really pointy points here. So if I come over here to sewing attributes, I can say make that point not quite so pointy there if I want it. It's kind of up to you which way you would rather have those curves go, whether you want them to do that or not. Okay, if I bring that down in there, that kind of actually looks the way I think I want it to look. This part right here is not as round as I'd like it to be. So you can see it takes a little work, but you'll eventually figure it out the way you want it to be. I'm going to zoom all, and then I want to do a satin stitch from here to here. So I'm just going to choose a running stitch. It should still be set as a satin stitch. Come up here and double click. Okay, so I made the bottom of my candle. Now I can make the top part up here by, and I want this to be an applique with a piece and everything. So let's go home, did a closed shape, and let's start right here, and we're going to click around. Double click. Uh-oh. What happened? Let's get close and see. We're going to zoom all the way up. Oh, it made the shape. I don't know why. Probably because it's black and I just couldn't see it. Let's make it red. That way I can see it. I see what the heck I did. Okay. And I'll go in and clean that up and smooth it all out and make it look so it's pretty, because it doesn't look pretty there. But I do want to make a line this way and a line this way. So what I want to do, first things first, let's make this into a running stitch. And then we want to say that we want to go home. And this one we can use the applique wizard and say okay, and it'll just automatically make an applique out of it. Obviously I need to smooth that out, but I'm not going to do it right now. And then I want to put a piece here, so I'm going to go here and use this and go click, 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 double click there, and then click, 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 double click there. Now I've got two red lines. I'm going to select this first one, and I'm going to go under shapes and change that to a zigzag stitch. And maybe come over here to sewing attributes and say, make that not quite so wide. And then this one, I'm going to change it to a zigzag stitch. And I'm going to definitely make it narrower, because that's just a small one. Let's make it that wide. So that's not too bad. And then we want the outline colors to be the same. So when I come down here, I can select this one and say select objects, and let's make that black. And then we're going to make this black as well. I don't think I'm going to make a black candle, but I'll have to think about it and see. But right now, we're making everything black. And then I'll do the flame. Oops! I'll do the flame exactly the same way. I'll trace around that and make that into an applique as well. And then if I wanted to, I could, I think I want to go here. I don't know what's going to happen here. It might work and it might not. I'm going to select this and I'm going to go like this. Nope, see, it didn't work. I want to grab this, make those all turn black, and I want to rest my mouse on here and just pull the whole thing down. Let's see. Yep, that's not working. So let's try it a different way. Let's go over here and get the selector key and then grab hold of this and pull it down like this. Yep. This part right here that we just see that's my original picture. If I turn the picture off under image and I go here and make that go away. See, I just made my candle a little bit longer. I like it like that. I think it should be tall and skinny since it's supposed to be the letter L. And then I'm going to go home and get the edit tool, and then I'll just pull this up here and pull this up here. And then we'll zoom all. And I don't have my flame on there yet, but I got a taller and skinnier candle, and I think that's more what I want it to be. And then I'll go ahead and I'll draw the flame, and then we'll go ahead and we'll sew this out. And I haven't even decided what colors I'm going to sew it out in to see what it's going to be. One of the things I could do if I wanted to, now remember, this satin stitch only goes here and then the rest of it goes around that way. So I can't click on this and fill this. But this first one that's right down here, this first outline I did, right here or right here, that one is going to be just the outline shape of the top of my candle. So that one I could. No, I can't because I forgot. See, sometimes it's better to make it a closed. So I'll show you something. This is really cool that you can only do in PE Design 11. You can't do it in any of the other ones. I'm going to zoom in really close and I'm going to get this selector key. And here's my boxes, right? I got one here and one here, and they're not connected because I didn't draw them as a connected object. But I'm going to hold the two boxes over the top of each other. I'm going to hold my Alt key down and see that red box that just appeared with my Alt key being pushed at the same time. Hold it until the hand is right over and the box turns red, and then let go. And it closed, and not only did it close, but it immediately filled it with that brick pattern because that was the last pattern I used. So now that it's a closed item, it's going to do a brick pattern. So isn't that cool? You can close something up that you may have drawn as an open object. And then now that I've got that, I'm going to hit shapes, and I'm going to tell it to make it a motif stitch, which it already, oops, sorry, that's not right. This is supposed to be a running stitch. This is a motif stitch. And then I'm going to come over here. It's brick still. Let's select it. And I want something that looks kind of lacy, a candle lacy look. I wonder if I tried this and said okay. That one might be kind of cool if I bring them closer together. Let's see. Let's go home and zoom all. That's kind of a neat candle, especially if I do this with as a black candle with gold in the inside of it as it fills up. And then this top piece would be just plain black without the gold on it. So that would look kind of cool. And then the flame on top of that. And this piece would be plain too. It would just be the candle part itself that you're going to see. Okay, so I went ahead and I finished up the flame. You can see I did that. And I made the candles a little bit smaller because I started thinking about it. And I think I want to put them on a stand. I think it'll look more like Halloween instead of just a couple of birthday candles. So what I think we're going to do, and I may go back and actually take this little blob that I made right here of dripping wax and just take it out. So I mean, it was a good way to show you how to follow along a zigzag, but it's not what I want if I put it on a stand. So, you know, you're going to do that a whole lot when you're doing PE design. Say, oh, this seemed like a good idea, but it didn't work out that good. So I'm going to take it out. So, but I'm not going to do that right now. First, I want to show you how I'm going to make a stand. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. Because it's going to just be on that really busy background that we have on our table runner. But I want it to be really fun and kind of Halloween-like. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the Shapes tool, and I'm going to draw a box and just click and drag across. So it's not really a box, it's more like a line. But the box tool is going to draw that probably perfectly for what I want. And I can squeeze it in a little bit, make it smaller. I will eventually put it up under my candle, but I'm going to leave it right there for right now. Then the next thing I want to do is I want to put some kind of ornate swirls in there. And remember in the last video, we went over here to the design library, and then we clicked outline shapes. And then under outlines, the category, we're going to click and we're going to go down to, let's see, emblems. And I think the one I want to use is this one right here. It's just a little leaf with a swirl, but it's going to do what I want it to do. So I'm going to put it right here. And we're going to select it and go back up here to shapes. And it does a triple stitch around the outside of it. So we're going to tell it to not do that. I don't know why there's no color on that. Let's go over here and click on it again. Shapes. Yeah, there it is. So we're going to tell the fill stitch to stay a fill stitch, but we want to make it black. So it's the same color as the line we made. Then remember, hit Control D, the letter D as in dog, will duplicate. Or the letter D as in duplicate. That works. And we're going to put another one right there. Now between these two, let's see. Whoops. Here, let me get the zoom thing. Somehow when we did that, that center part didn't make. I don't know why it did that. Let's see. You guys see me make mistakes, you'll so what happened was that I didn't select this part as well, and that's why I didn't do it. So I'm going to select this part, hit Control, select that one, and then Control D. Okay, see now when it duplicated, it got both of them. So we'll just delete this one. Okay, sometimes it does weird stuff like that. So I think I want to flip this one around so the leaf hits that part, and now they're kind of like opposite each other. We'll go down a little bit further here and then take this part and move it down. And then I'm going to go back over here to the emblems part, and I'm going to choose events. And in events, they have all these holiday things that are really fun. I didn't even realize they had this cute little haunted house here. But I think I want this bat. So I'm going to say import. Where did you go, bat? Let's zoom out. Hey, they put it all the way up here. So let's bring it back down here. And then I will zoom back down here again. And pull this out. And make sure that they all bump into each other, even if it's just a little bit, that they're touching each other. Let's bring this up just a little bit more. There, that's touching. They're all touching each other. And then I'm going to hit this line one again and Control D. So now I've got another one. Let's bring it down just a little bit like this. I think I want it to be even smaller than that. There. So now that I got them all bumped against each other, let's hit minus and go out a little bit. And then I'm going to make sure I got my selector key. Whenever you hit the zoom one, your cursor turns into a magnifying glass. Make sure you come back up here and get your selector key again. Otherwise, it's just going to keep magnifying. So I got my selector key. I am going to click up here, left click, and drag a box around the whole thing. When I let go, they'll all be selected. Then I'm going to go up here where it says Modify Overlap, and I'm going to say Merge. Now those are all merged together. And if I click off of them and click on them again, they all move together. They're all created the same. And I can take that little guy and put him right there. And then Control D again. Whoops. Come on. You won't let me. There. And I'll move it over here. I did the same thing again. It took all my holes out. Okay, we're going to delete that one. So I may have to figure out another way to do that. I may have to ungroup it and select it all and do it again. I should have duplicated. I'm not going to do that all on video. It'll just take me a while to figure it out. But you can see, minus, zoom all, that I kind of created a fun little stand for my candles to be on. And I'm going to do a second one. I'm going to take this little blob out there and then I'm going to sew it out. And I'll be back in just a minute and I'll show you how it came out.
Okay, I'm back. And I was able to sew out that embroidery design, and I have to show it to you because I think it came out really good. I'm very happy with it. So here's my candlesticks. And it's got yellow fabric behind it with black thread on top of it, which is kind of opposite of what I said I was going to do, but I really like the way it came out. It's very cute. I'll put a little bit of a close-up thing up in the corner of the screen so you can see it a little bit better. But I'm really, really happy with the way it's coming out. It's something completely different. There's my haunted house, and there's my age. We're halfway done with our table runner. And then we got to tackle the O. And I thought a couple times about what I might do. I even thought about doing a sugar skull, but I think I'm going to go back to the cauldron that we did in the last one, because the cauldron's really fun and you can put buttons and decorations on it and have stuff floating through the sky and all that kind of stuff. And I just think that's kind of a fun idea. And last time we did the cauldron on the Stellaire, and this time we're going to do in PE11 for those of you who don't have a Stellaire, a Dream Machine, or a Luminaire, and hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about how to use your PE design software and have a lot of fun doing this project. I really hope a lot of people are following on and making something like this, and you can go on to my Facebook page, which is also Enchanting Rosemary, and share a picture of what you're doing. I'd really love to see it, and I guess that's it for today. I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.